Say you watch a video, a 40-minute tutorial, and a week later you need one specific comment from it. At that point, you have two bad options: scrub through the timeline trying to find the right moment, or rewatch the whole thing. Neither is a good use of your time. This build solved that. You drop a YouTube link, choose the note format, and get a structure markdown sent straight to your inbox automatically. Here is what you will need: an n8n, either cloud or self hosted, script creator for transcript with the link in the description, and about 1,000 free credits that they offer for all new accounts. An LLM, I'm using Ollama here, but any provider will work. An SMTP account where a free Gmail account is, it's typically fine for it. I'll walk you through the full workflow node by node, and then both prompts are available to download in a link below. Let's get to it. Why this workflow is different? I wanted to mention that because most of the generator are stateless. If you send the same video twice, they burn token, they hit the API, and generate the same notes all over again. That means wasted compute and wasted money. This build is different because it's token conscious. Before it generates anything, it checks the database to see whether the notes are already being created, and for that specific video and in that exact format. If they have, it simply pulls the saved result and then emails this immediately. No generations. That filter at the top here of the workflow is what separates a smart tool from a wasteful run. So let's start with the process. So first we have a form trigger, and this form trigger is this submission form, which essentially has three fields. Number one is the YouTube URL, where you paste the URL that you want generated for. The second is a drop down, which essentially will have you pick between tutorial and class lecture, depending on what you want out of that transcript. And then the third one is your email, wherever you want this sent to once the generation is complete. I personalize the text to show at the end of the message, at the end of the submission. You don't have to. If you don't, n8n is just gonna simply use the standard default confirmation. After that, we have the filter, and this filter is a data table. And what it does is it checks the data table called note taking table, which I will attach a CSV in the description for you to import into n8n before you build this workflow. It's essential because if you don't have that, the workflow will not work. And I already built the structure for it. It will be empty, that's normal. But once you import that, n8n can use that as a data table to fact check everything before it sends out the transcript. But then this will look for two specific fields. Remember that we want to make sure that we do not regenerate the same video for that was generated before and with the same type that was picked. So here I'm looking for a condition that must match all conditions, which are essentially same URL and then same type. Eventually, I'll make this a little more efficient in the sense that if I have the same URL but a different type, I don't need to hit the API again. I'm just gonna go into the data flow, fetch the transcript for that video, and then hit the AI model to generate the specific option that I didn't pick before or anybody picked before. But then after that, you have to make sure that you select always output data. If you don't, it's gonna stop at that node if there's nothing to return. But we always want to return a value, whether it's blank or not. The next node is a if statement, a node which will check the object YTURL and make sure that object exists. The reason why we do that is because if the object exists, essentially it tells us here the video was already generated, because your filter here is looking for if the record does not exist. I know it's a little hard to understand at the beginning, but you will get a gist of it once you implement this. So here it is. This node will look if a record does not exist, okay? And it's gonna make sure that as the decisive parameters, it's gonna make sure that it looks at the YouTube URL and the type. So when these two do not exist, it's going to return a specific value. Okay. Looking at this, what we can tell here is if the record does exist, it's supposed to return a blank value. If the record does not exist, it will return everything that was passed down from the on-form submission note. So that's what I'm looking for here. So if the record does not exist, like I said, it's going to pass down everything from the form submission to this node. So it means that this was never generated before, therefore we need a new generation. But if it was generated before, what happened is it's going to return nothing, which is a blank value, and the blank value is essentially does not exist, falls down under the false condition, hence send over whatever is saved in the database to the user, essentially to not go and generate an output for it. But then the get prompt nodes is interesting because that node will look at the pick we made when we were picking our node type. So if it's a tutorial, I have a specific system prompts that get generated. And then if it's not a tutorial, I have these prompts that get generated. When I mean by generated, I mean output. The output of this will heavily be based on what you picked as a type whenever you wanted this to get generated. So the next item will be the get transcript, which essentially will pull the transcript for us. And this focuses the only parameter that you need will be the YouTube URL you want to generate node for. Make sure that you set up the URL for the API endpoint, and also you have the proper head alt sent over with your name and then the API key at the bottom. So once this gets generated, the AI agent will get the transcript that was generated from the get transcript nodes, and then the system prompts that get generated from the get prompt based on the, like I said, the type that you selected. This gets sent over to the gets convert to text file, convert to node, which will take the output of the AI agent and then convert it into a binary file that we can attach and send over to our email. And that will be essentially the last step, which send over to the email that you put into the form. And then right down, we have a subject that just makes a description of you're receiving in your email. And then we have the video that we are getting notes from. And then, yeah, saving the execution. And if it gets generated, if it's another generation that already was done before, it's going to go down this path. So let's test this and make sure it works. So we have a pop-up that comes in with a YouTube URL. And for this one, I'm going to pick one of my YouTube video. So I have this. I can paste that here and then select the tutorial and the email address. So when we submit this, you will see the reason why it went down this way is because that record exists already. And then we're running another execution, but this time we are going to pick a class lecture and then paste the YouTube URL and the email address, this whole thing, and you will see that it went a different way. So it went up there because yes, we have a record of this, but as a tutorial, when this time we are looking for a lecture, class lecture. So if you look at the prompt here, it will be a class lecture prompt like we get from this get prompt note. And then the AI is just gonna go through it, generate everything for you. And then once that is completed, it's going to email it to you and save that execution. So if we go back to our email and we go to our inbox, let's refresh this. And then we have our email right here. This is for class lecture. And when we open it, that's all we get. The instructor walks through a complete workflow, user chat with an AI. System collect onboarding information through natural conversation. Collect data is automatically saved in Google Sheets, acting as a lightweight CRM. System can update existing rule whenever the user continue the conversation. So yeah, that's essentially what I was talking about during that video. Yeah. and then embed the URL for you in case you want to watch the video. But that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions or suggestions, I'll revisit this, and running into issues with this specific workflow, let me know, and I will also try to help. With that being said, you have a good night or a good day, depending on whatever time you're watching this, and I'll see you next time.